Hey everyone, welcome to March 5th live coaching live stream. We're live around the world. Where are you? Say hi in the chat. Did you sail this week? How was it? We've already got a few people in the chat. Hey Tomas, Matt, Jorg. I'm in Hawaii and I've been windsurfing. This footage is from sometime in the last week. I've had quite a few days. Been trying to focus on my jumping because there is a World Cup that starts in a couple weeks in Japan, and it has a lot of jumping conditions. And so I've been working on two things, working on jumping and working on tuning my equipment. I feel very confident with my wave riding. There's a couple of small things in the wave riding that I'm not super confident with, but in general, I feel pretty confident with the wave riding. The jumping though, I'm just out of practice. I just haven't been doing a ton of jumping on starboard tack in the last few years. We can watch that again if you guys want, or we can watch actually another one another day. Let's load up another day. Here's a little clip, little backside ride. I know you guys like the backside rides. I do too. I like them because it's a great way to practice a lot of the fundamental skills without having so much timing relevance. Like when you're going frontside, it's a much bigger turn, and so it can be really difficult to get the timing. Whereas going backside, because it's a smaller turn, you can see the wave, you're a lot closer to the wave, you don't have the timing factor as much. All right, here's one more clip, and then we can go back through and watch these. And then my little warm up going down to the beach, just making sure that my legs are all warmed up. I did some stretching before this, but I just want to do some dynamic exercises. This is like a little bit lazy, but so doing some just little jump squats and then doing some lunges, just tiny, but just making sure that my legs feel good. It's more like an audit than an actual exercise. It's more of something that I can do to make sure that I feel like I've got power in my legs and I feel comfortable. And then if I don't, I might go back and do some other stretching or some other warm-ups. Hey, Steen, Suna, Ragnar, Thomas, Greg, got someone on Facebook. Jeff, hey Jeff. And so yeah, so here's some footage. So this is from Maui. Again, I've been working on my board, so trying to get the boards ready for Japan. And some of them I went too far in how I was adjusting them. Like I've been moving my straps more forward, moving things around, just to see how it feels. We lost our wind, and I wish if I had more wind, I would have done more fin testing. I would have liked to test some just small differences in the fin. So I really like the scorchers in the rear, and I'm using an 18. I've lost a bit of weight in the last year, and so I think maybe I could start using a 17, but I didn't get the chance to test that. Yep, Thomas, the competition in Japan is in Omiyazaki. That is correct. Yeah, so this is some of my training. I've been doing a lot of training with Robbie Swift, which has been fun. It's always nice to train with someone. I think it helps no matter what level you're at to be training with someone. Makes a big difference. I crashed this one. Yeah, because that other person pushes you, motivates you. So if you're trying to improve, it can be really helpful to have a training buddy or a training partner. And you don't have to be best friends, but just having someone out there at the same time as you who's working on similar things. That doesn't even have to be the exact same moves, but it's just really, yeah, really nice to have someone there to motivate you, push you to test your limits. And it doesn't even have to be a very conscious thing. It's going on in the back of the head, that you know that there's someone else out there also working on getting better, and that can be really motivating. So that's something I recommend. Here, I'm testing these boards. So sometimes, like when I make an adjustment on the board, I've been moving the foot straps around. So moving the foot straps more forward and playing with the mass tracks. Did we already watch this footage? Did we watch this last week? We might have. I can't remember if this is footage we watched last week. There was some other footage that we definitely didn't watch. So here, this is interesting. So this tack, look, I slip off. So I dropped this board off to get new texture. So this is something you can do. If you're slipping on your boards and it's affecting your performance, especially to the point where you're falling on moves like tacks, it's time to put new texture, new grip on the board. So I have to pick that board up tomorrow. It should have its new texture done by then. This is one as well. This is interesting. I found it interesting on the water. So this wave, if we look at the next wave, this is not very common for Hokipa, but this can happen in other places. You can see there's a little bit of a double up and the waves are coming together. And even though it doesn't look like it's going to throw, when you have that situation, the lip is going to be quite heavy. And so I knew that. And so I set myself up to go for a 360 and everything went to plan. So that's a good tactic you can use when you see those waves setting up like that. Can't remember if we've watched this footage. There's another clip with a different color sail that I think we didn't go through. I'm not sure. Yeah, so this, like I can see, so I'm testing again something different on this board, and it looks just a lot stiffer on the cutback. I'm having trouble getting the cutback engaged. But the problem is when you're testing things like foot straps and fins, it's even if you make just a small adjustment, it's gonna feel weird the first few waves, maybe even the first 20 minutes. And so you really have to put time in and figure out how to adjust how you're pushing or how you're sailing to then make it work. And because then maybe it's not as good and maybe you go back, but maybe even though you have to make some advantages, maybe maybe you have to make some small adjustments, maybe there are some advantages to those adjustments. And so by putting everything farther forward can help me get planing a little bit earlier, can maybe help with the tricks, but then it makes it harder to get that nice rail engagement that I like. So we're dealing with a lot of trade-offs. If I had a little bit more time, I would have tested the smaller rear fins. I think that would be really interesting in conjunction with these other changes. This is one of the best goiters I've done in a while. I was pretty happy with this one. Pretty happy it got caught on film. The lead up to it is something that I've been talking about a lot in terms of just going down the line and getting speed. And so you can see starting from here where I'm getting speed, staying pretty high on the wave. I come down a little bit, but then come back up on the wave. And I'm just trying to go fast, travel through that flat part on the wave. And again, just trying to pick up speed. So this is one of those exercises that I recommend everyone do, just going down the line. You can see this, there's this little motion I'm doing with the sail here where I'm just pushing the sail a little bit into the wind and then bringing it back. And that just helps get wind in the sail and speed in the board. And then you just want to try and go as fast as possible. It's a really good exercise that I recommend everyone do. All right. Are there any more questions about this footage before we move on? Oh, here I caught my rail. This was annoying. So my rail okay, so I have this first turn and then just, I don't know, I hit a little chop or something and boom, just didn't work. And I remember this in the session. I had a few of these crashes and then I think I just decided that it was time to come in after that. I had just a few crashes one after the other and I was like, okay, things are not going my way. I need to go in. And that can be a sign rather than pushing through it. That can be a sign that you're tired, that you're mentally exhausted. It's time to go in. Yeah, so a lot of this is trying to figure out these boards, making adjustments. I like this board, both these boards. One is the production board and the other is a custom. And yeah, just trying to figure out how I want to get them set up for Japan. Doing that testing. One of the most important things is playing around with your gear so that you know how it feels. And then it doesn't necessarily mean I know what the best setup is, but then if I sail out in the warm up and I feel like I need my board more of a certain way, then I'm better aware because I've done all that testing. So I know, okay, if I want more rail engagement on the cutbacks, I'm going to move my straps a little bit farther back or something like that. This kiter just hit me. He just took me out with his lines. I was pretty annoyed with this. So normally they should put their kite up when I'm passing by. Yeah, Jeff, Greg, both boards are 88 liters. Japan starts on the 16th. Japan is a few hours ahead. I think it's like 8 hours ahead of Central Europe. And yeah, both boards are 88 liters. I could probably go a little bit smaller now that I've lost a little bit of weight, but I like 88 liters. It's a pretty solid size because it's small enough that I can do all the maneuvers and I feel really comfortable on it, but also it's big enough that I can put a 5.5 on an 88 and I can feel pretty comfortable even when the wind is light. And so it's a pretty nice like one board solution. Like I said, here there's me with chatting with Robbie. Just having a buddy to go with can be really helpful for improving and for pushing yourself. Yeah, if you have any other questions about this footage, let me know. So here, the board, this is even farther forward on the boards, and you can see what it does to the cutbacks. So the cutbacks are changing because of that. So they're less carvy, a little bit more slidey. So you can see that I'm hitting the lip and the tail wants to kind of slide out rather than before I'd be doing a lot of these sort of more carvy cutbacks. And I don't necessarily like these sliding ones, but it's interesting to know that that's what happens when you make those adjustments to the board and then thinking, okay, if I still want to do the carvy cutbacks, how do I do that? And then I'm thinking, okay, I need to put more pressure that I'm used to on my back foot. Windsurfing is so gear sensitive. Hey, Ina. Hey, Stefan. Welcome, welcome. You are not late to the show. We're kind of just warming up. I'm doing a long warm up. I'm going through some footage of mine from the week. Oh, Ragnar. Nice. We leave Tokyo on the 30th, so we just miss each other. Greg, I am probably, how many kilograms am I? Probably 85. Probably 85 kilograms. No? But I haven't weighed myself lately, so I'm not sure. But somewhere around that range. Yeah, so any questions about this footage? So again, you can see I've made these adjustments and I struggle a little bit with the rails. There's a back loop. I was happy with this back loop. This felt good. Getting a little bit of horizontal travel, which you don't want in a back loop. One of the key things with a back loop is you want vertical travel, not horizontal travel, but still felt good to make it. Yeah, and I was trying to work on my jumps. Like I said, my jumps have been something I haven't been putting that much attention to on starboard tack in the last few years. So I was trying to remember how to do some jumps, like throwing some cheese rolls and different things, which was fun. It's fun to do a bit of jumping. All right. So we can jump into the coaching. Jorg is saying, what's the difference between the boards if both are 88 liters? They just have different different designs. So they're pretty similar to each other. One is shorter than the other. The custom one is shorter than the production board. They're just a little bit different in their outline and design. The main differences being that the custom one is a little bit shorter and then like a little bit carvier. But they're both good boards. Here we can see Robbie Swift going for a little tweak to air. They have some slightly different widths. Hey, Dennis. Here, I mistimed this just a little. I really like these sort of 3-hit waves at Hokipa, but that one was a little bit mistimed. So here's another example. Again, this is different conditions than what you guys are getting in Europe, but you can still apply the same principle of staying high on the wave, trying to get as much speed as you can before setting up into your turns. So you can see how high I am on the wave and just really getting speed, coming up again, getting speed, and then dropping in and going for the bottom turn. It's a little 360. All right, let's get into the Facebook group. Let me get that set up, and we'll get into the coaching. A few things. So I will be in Japan for the next, I think it's 3 Sundays. I should look at a calendar. So I will be in Japan for the next, 3 Sundays. So I've got to figure out how we do this in terms of the live stream, because I might not be able to make this time. So let's see. I'll do an update in the group about that. All right, I'm going to close this footage. Do we have any questions about my footage before I get into the Facebook group? There's an example of stopping a forward rotation, something we talk about, which you can only do if you're looking back. So here you can see I'm really aggressively looking over my shoulder so I can see the landing, and then sheeting out, opening the legs, stops the rotation. So you can land softly. All right. Facebook group is loaded up. So like I said, I'm going to post an update about what times I'm able to live stream. So we'll probably have to change the time, because this time is like 4 in the morning or something, or 4 in the morning, right? In Japan. I think that sounds right. So I've got to figure that out, because I don't think I'll be waking up at 4 in the morning to do the live streams, unless my jet lag is really bad. All right, first up, we have a post from Ridge who says, last week on my Devil's Tack, actually had an attempt I would call a tabletop. Want to go on this on my other tack. Insight, besides kicking the board, I need to put my front hand as close to the chest as possible. Yeah, so that front hand, good insight. Good insight. I like insights like that. One of the biggest things I think with the tabletop, one of the biggest misconceptions is about how you're kicking the board. And what you see a lot of people doing is using their legs to kick the board out. And that will get you to a donkey kick, maybe a little bit more than a donkey kick. But if you really want to get a tweaked tabletop, the force has to come from your core. So it's coming from your hips, and your hips are twisting, and then your legs are following. And so you're driving from your hips and scissoring the legs. So you're scissoring your legs and driving from your hips to twist. So you're trying to face the hips down to look at the water. So your hips are twisting towards the water. And it's kind of like when you're flicking a dish rag or something, you get that where the force is coming from the wrist and then it's traveling through the hand, through the rag and whipping. And it's a similar thing with your feet. So your feet actually feel kind of light. It's not like you're forcing your feet up and around. It's the force is happening in your core, and then you're scissoring your legs, and then the feet and the lower legs just follow, and they just whip around up, and then come back around when you're coming down again. That's one of the biggest tips for the tabletop. And once you figure that out conceptually, you'll start getting them tweaked. And then it's just a matter of progressively doing more and more of that. And then you can twist even more with your upper body, get your head looking down at the water to get super tweaked. All right, Max posted this video of Pozo, Daido windsurfing, because it offers some pretty cool angles, the drone shots. And it's cool to see. It's cool to see this perspective on Pozo. You can see how Daida is approaching the waves. Daida has a really kind of clue first style in her bottom turn. She goes flat, so she's not carving her whole bottom turns, but she's definitely a Pozo expert. And you can see how she's approaching these waves, applying a lot of the principles that we talk about, looking for these corner sections. So this is like the third one that she's hit. And so this is something that I talk about a lot, especially when you're getting into wave sailing, is you're looking for these corner sections. And then you're just kind of putting your board in the corner pocket, getting that high five, boom, and it just works like magic. There are a few other ones in here. Nice boost on the back loop. She's a great windsurfer. Here's another example, I think, of one of these corner pockets. Yeah, again, so she's just looking for that corner pocket. Here again, it's all the same thing. And so if you have that heuristic, it makes it pretty easy to get your timing right and have a dynamic top turn. All right, I'm looking for someone to help me with writing or editing different posts. This is mainly for the think tank, which I've done one post. Tomas has migrated everything over from the Patreon. He helped me out with that. Thank you, Tomas. I know some of you guys are members of the think tank, so check it out, because I have actually posted in there, and I will be posting more, and it's a good place for discussion. And I need a bit of help with writing or editing just to keep pumping out stuff, because it's hard for me to do it on my own. So we have a few recommendations from people, Billy Short or Greg Dunnett. I think both you guys are kind of overqualified for what I'm looking for, but I'll reach out and see if it works. If you at home are not one of those two people and you are interested in helping, send me a message and maybe we can do something. All right. I like these weekly questions. So this one is, how has windsurfing changed your life? And I love the answers. Some funny ones. I have a lot less money now. Some pretty dramatic ones. You're talking about deciding where to live, who to marry, based on windsurfing. Another funny one. Made me a good swimmer. Dave's story is, I think, a common one, where someone was really into it and they had to take a break because of family and work, and then now they're coming back into it later in life. And this is a common story, and it's cool to hear. I love listening to these stories. Yeah, so I love going through this thread, reading all the answers, whether they're funny, serious, sincere, or not. I really like these weekly questions. I'm going to keep doing them. So look out in the group for for the next one. some fun discussion. Oh, we got all mixed up. I've got to put this back to new posts. All right. So we have a post from Zach asking about boom height. So why high, why low? Bernd Roediger, for example, has a high boom. He's one of the only ones. I think a lot of modern wave riders, pro wave riders, are using low booms. Bernd does use a high boom, which is interesting. My main thing is that you should experiment. This is true with boom height. It's true with mass-based position. It's true with fins. Is experimenting is an important part of getting better because it helps you to understand your gear better, first of all, helps you figure out what works for you. And two, it helps you realize what you need to change if you're feeling uncomfortable. One of the big concepts is that there is no set it and forget it correct height. So I change my boom height depending on the conditions. And I know because I've done so much experimenting what it will feel like if I raise it higher or raise it lower. And so I know, okay, if I want to get planing a bit earlier in these conditions, I'm going to be putting my boom height higher. And if I want to be really driving hard on my turns, I'm going to put my boom height a little bit lower. I think what most people need to do is lower their boom because a lot of people sail with the boom above their head, and that is generally not good for wave riding. If you have a few sessions with a really low boom, you boom on your nipples, and you just don't like it, and you go back to the boom above your head, great. But having that testing is super important. And I recommend continually testing. It's not a thing just to do once. You want to play with your boom every few sessions, even. And it's also doing something that's making you a better windsurfer because you have to adjust. So when you make a change like that, your body has to adjust, and it feels awkward at first, but then your body figures it out. And that little adjustment process is your body learning. You're learning something. You're improving in your windsurfing just by changing the height and overcoming that awkwardness. So if you always have the exact same boom height, the exact same sail, the exact same harness line length, the exact same mast track, everything, you get stuck in a certain rut. And then if you get out of that, your body can't handle it. So if we're doing little adjustments along the way, your body gets a lot better at, because it learns so much more at handling a wide variety of equipment changes, which is just really good for your windsurfing, one. And two, it transfers. So that same skill at adjusting can transfer over to trying new spots, to trying new boards. So because otherwise, if you try a new board that's maybe a way better board than what you have, but you're so used to what you're riding, you might not like the new board. But if you're training your body to always be testing, always be doing different things, then you don't have that problem. All right, Leo is asking about windsurfing on the western coast of Australia. I don't have experience there, but we've got some good answers from other people in the group. Thank you. Jan, we talked about Jan's bottom turn in the last live stream, and here's another video sort of backing up what we're talking about. One of the main things we mentioned is all of this ankle flex here that we see in the bottom turn. And what you want to think of, the key image you want to think about is getting your body bent over and your butt back. And so your body is bent over, your chest is down, and your butt is back, and you're leaned over. So you're not driving your bottom turn with your ankles or anything below your knees. You're driving your bottom turn. You can think of it with your chest, where you're sticking your butt out and you're driving your chest down and trying to touch your nose to the water. And that's going to create a much more powerful carve. Yep. And it will help with your jibe too. I mean, it's the same concept. And so what we don't want is knees push forward, torso push back, because those cancel each other out. As you can see, the board is pretty flat. right? So what we want is, here, let's see if we go back to my footage. Let's see if we have an example. I just want a good bottom trend example. Here's one, I think. So body bent over, butt out. And there's a little bit of ankle flex, but I'm not thinking about that at all. What I'm thinking about is getting my torso over. And then that is what allows the board to get on its edge. And you want to have power coming through your glutes. One reason that when I do the in-person master classes, one of the main exercises that we do are like the single leg Romanian deadlifts or forward tees, some people call them, which really helps strengthen the glutes, or with the rubber band, because your glutes help transfer that power from your core down to your board. And they also help keep these legs really stable pushing on the board. And again, what you want to think about, butt out, torso bent over. I think we get another one coming up we can look at. So torso gets bent over. This is a 360. Generally, 360s have a little bit more of a shallower bottom turn. Pumping up to speed. Pumping is a really good skill as well, because the more speed you have, the more you can carve your board. So if you get into the proper bottom turn position, but you're going too slow, it's just not going to work. All right, we've kind of caught up on all the posts. Not a lot of posts these weeks, with most of you guys dealing with winter conditions. I've got a few minutes I can hang out and answer questions and talk about things. Do you guys have any questions that you haven't asked and you want to ask, or something you're curious about? It can be about your own windsurfing, or it can be about my windsurfing, or just windsurfing in general, or competition, or not. Yeah, I got a few minutes, and then I'm gonna sign off. But you got me for a few more minutes. Hey, JR. So JR says that he was reading in an article that pro wave sailors tend to use a smaller sail and bigger board compared to a decade ago. Could such a combo be the key to promote a more dynamic style on the waves? Yeah, I think this is true. So back in the day, a lot of the pros were riding boards in the high 60s, low mid 70s, and now most of the guys are riding boards sort of mid 70s to mid 80s liters. So there's definitely truth to this. I don't know if sail size has gotten smaller though to compensate. It would make sense if it had, but I don't think so. I think it's just um I think it's just, yeah, it's kind of similar sail sizes somehow, but definitely bigger boards, and that helps for catching more waves, getting around more. Um, the multi-fin boards really open this up, because with a single fin board, if you have too much volume, it's just too stiff. Whereas the multi-fin boards are a lot more maneuverable, and so that is what allowed us to go bigger with the shapes. And so it probably not compared to a decade ago, because a decade ago we were using the multi-fin boards. So it's probably more like compared to 2 decades ago. I would say the multi-fin boards started getting popular with Cowley. That would have been after 2007. So 2010, they were probably popular. So I would say before 2010. All right, follow-up question from JR, and then we're going to go to Tomas's question. So he says, although it's a lot of personal preference, I was wondering if it would be fine to combine my 3.4 and 4.0 Ezzy wave sails with a 77-liter board. My weight is 70 kilograms. Yeah, that sounds fine. That sounds great. Sounds good. I think you can go up to 10 liters over your weight pretty comfortably. Greg is saying that Camille uses a high boom, Camille and Burned. We have to look at it. It'd be interesting if someone wants to do a little study, take some photos, some screenshots, and we can see boom heights across lots of different pros. I've been riding my boom higher than I was before, and it's not because I like it better necessarily for the wave riding, but I like it better for the jumping. It helps me get planing earlier, and so then I need to train the wave riding like that as well. Jeff is asking about Maui clinics. Yeah, I'm still working on that. So I've been waiting for. I'm gonna send something out because these guys that I'm waiting for are just too slow. But basically, I've been waiting for the cost. So my some of my main costs are the filmer, so hiring a filmer, which actually he just got back to me this morning with his costs, and then paying for insurance and licenses and all that stuff, which I do through HST, one of the windsurfing schools here, and they still haven't gotten back to me. So it's a little bit difficult to send out information because I don't know all of my costs. But I think I'm just going to send something out, and with the cost of the filmer, I have a pretty good idea of of all my costs. I mean, the HST costs I still don't know about, but anyway, I think I can send something out today. And then the other thing that I've been working on for that is finding a accommodation that everyone can stay in who's coming from off island. And as you guys know who have come to Maui, finding accommodation is one of the most difficult things here. But I think I found a really good place. And so I've reached out to them and I'm waiting to confirm about their availability. And I would even adjust my dates to fit with their availability. So the dates that I'm looking at, which everyone said that they can do when I did the survey, is April 28th till May 2nd. I like those dates. But if this accommodation, for example, if they're only able to do it one day before or after or whatever it is, I would adjust based on that, because it's so hard to find accommodation. It's not impossible, and we're getting later into the season, so it should be easier at that time, but I would like to be able to provide something for everyone. Yeah, Jeff, I think you'd love it. I think it'd be really good for your windsurfing too. We'd have a lot of fun and a lot of learning. Maui is awesome. But anyway, I'm going to send out some more information about that. Tamaz is asking about the back to sail backside riding from last week's clip. Let me see if I can find that. Let me see if I can find that. I'll look that up. Here's another clip that actually we didn't yet. Ragnar's asking where we would sail on the Maui Clinic. I would like to be a little bit more at Hokipa than somewhere else, but it depends on the conditions. We can also be at Kanoha or Sprex, somewhere down the coast. Something I'd like to do in the future, so not this year, maybe next spring, would be to do a really high-end Maui clinic, which would be for sure a high cost, but then it would allow us to do some amazing things like rent a house right on the beach in Sprex, Camp One, launch from the beach, film from there. It would be just an amazing time. But the cost of that is going to be a lot higher. But I think that would be something that I would really be interested in because I think that, yeah, it would be awesome. Which, I mean, what I'm doing this year is also awesome, but they're just just different things. But yeah, I would like to be kind of Hokipa focused. And at that time of year, it should be manageable. And if it's not, though, we can be nimble and we can go somewhere else. But at that time of year, Hokipa should be small enough that it's not intimidating, but it's a good spot to learn. And I'd like to do some fun things as well, like do a coast run, sail down from Hokipa to Kanaha, which is an amazing experience. You get to windsurf all the waves on Maui's North Shore. Pretty awesome, fun experience. So yeah, so this footage, I don't know if you guys can tell, the straps are a little bit farther back. And so you can see that the turns are different compared to what we saw before. So like I can really see it in this cutback where instead of sliding, so that instead of the tail of the board sliding out, the board just really wants to carve, which I like that better. So I might move my straps back again to get some of this. So Tomas wants to see a backside riding clip. I'm not really sure where to find that. Maybe Tomas post it in the Facebook group, and then we can talk about it. I think it's gonna just take too long if I'm hunting for that clip. Yeah, so we can finish watching this footage. So we've got like two more minutes of this footage. So send in your questions in the next 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna say goodbye. Next week, like I said, I'm gonna be in Japan. So we have to see about times. Yeah, we have to see about times, whether it works to do a similar time as this or different. Maybe I'll do a poll in the group about when people have time, and we'll see, because maybe I have to do it in the European morning instead of evening. Let's just see. Jeff is asking, when I'm analyzing a board shape, what initial datum do I use for comparison? So the first thing I'm looking at is volume, and then I look at length and width in the tail, so 12 inches off the tail. And those are sort of the main things I'm looking at first. But kind of have to try it. And then bottom shape. So I would say the first thing I look at is volume. Second thing I look at is length. Third thing I look at is width. And then I look at bottom shape. So what the bottom shape is like in terms of, is it a V board, a double concave board, a single concave board? And those have very specific feelings to them. And so I'll look at those. But then also just trying it, feeling it, because yeah, there's no substitute. You can theory craft it all day long, but there's no substitute for how it feels. Oh, sweet. Cool. I'll have to check that out. It's a little backside 360. A little bit of a messy one. Here's a cleaner one. Little backside ride. So Jeff is asking, is there a way to relate to strap and mast position to rocker? Maybe, but I think the most important thing is just trying it and experimenting. So you want to relate your straps to your fins. I think that's kind of easy to do. And I want your fins, the leading edge of your fin, to be somewhere between the front of your foot and the middle of your foot. And you don't want to be standing on the trailing edge of that rear fin. And then the front fins, you can adjust based on then how loose you want the board to be. So the tighter the cluster is, the looser it will be. The farther the cluster is, the stiffer it will be. And so you can move then those front fins. You can start with them about 2 fingers apart or 2 fingers in front of those rear fins. And then if you want it stiffer, then you move them forward. If you want it looser, move it back. But in terms of straps and mast track, I think you really have to experiment with it. And making a 1 centimeter change or 1 hole change makes a big difference, which can be kind of scary because it does make such a big difference. But it's yeah, worth experimenting. All right, so this is a request from Tomas. So we're going to look at this video that he clipped out. So Tomas, what is your question? Backside backwinded. Doing kind of a heli tack here. I was actually trying to do a floater backside 360, so it's a different kind of backside 360, which I think you can see in some of my videos. You don't see them very often anymore. It used to be more popular. Now most people do the Shaka style backside 360s. But that's what I'm trying to do here. And I end up just going off the back of the wave, kind of doing a little heli tack and then exiting out. So I don't know if that answers your question. Does that answer your question, Tomas? Here, just, oh, no, that's not it. For reference, this is a more Shaka style 360 sliding around. All right, guys, I am going to sign off. Thank you very much for showing up. I will see you sometime next weekend. I'm going to do a live stream next weekend. It might not be at this time, though. So check the Facebook group. All the updates will be in there. I'll send out updates about Maui Clinic. Also, there's at least 1 new post in the think tank, and I'm going to do another. And if you are a writer or an editor who wants to get involved, let me know. And then we can start pumping out these posts because I have a list of them, but it's just hard for me to get through them all to get them ready to be posted. All right, everyone, take care. Have a good windy week. I will see you soon. Take care and goodbye.